Okay, number 4 asks us, which of the following is true? It says complex numbers are irrational numbers. So what does it mean to be irrational? So a rational number means we can write it as a ratio of two integers. So this would be a rational number. So irrational means it cannot be written as a ratio of two integers. Now, complex numbers are numbers of the form a plus bi, where I is the imaginary number. So we're asking ourselves, is it true that complex numbers are irrational? So is it true that all complex numbers are not able to be written as a ratio of integers? So that's not true, because even just take the complex number 3 plus 0i, right, which is the same thing as 3. That's certainly a rational number because it's just 3, and 3 can be written as a ratio of 3 over 1. So not all complex numbers are irrational, so this thing's not true. Let's look at part B. Part B says 1/3 is an irrational number. So before I even read the rest of the statement, I know that's false because 1/3 is a rational number, but let's see what they say. 1/3 is an irrational number because its decimal value does not truncate. So that's true that the decimal value does not truncate. 1/3 is 0.3 repeating, which does go on infinitely, but that's not a criteria to make something irrational, right? So in fact, this is rational. So this is not a true statement. Let's look at C. If a number is not a perfect square, its square root is irrational. So this is actually going to be true. This is going to be our choice. This is true because we know that if we try to take the square root of something that's not a perfect square, we may be able to simplify it a little bit by pulling out some perfect square factors, but ultimately we're still going to be left with some portion that's, because it's not a perfect square, there's got to be some factor that's left that's not a square. So we're going to be left with the square root of a number, and that's going to make it irrational. So that's true, and we can stop there, but let's just make sure we understand part D. Part D says the circumference of a circle, so remember that the circumference of a circle is 2 pi r, or pi times the diameter. The circumference of a circle is always an irrational number. Well, this is a little tricky because you might think that that is always true because you've got this pi in here. But of course, it depends on the diameter. If the diameter is 1 over pi or something like that, the pi's cancel and the circumference could just be 1. So the other way to think about that is you could take a piece of string that is some rational length, like 1 inch long or something, and wrap it around so that it became a circle, and then the circumference is 1 inch. So you know that you can have a circumference of rational value. So this is not true. And so choice C is the correct response.